Hey, what's up, everybody?
Every now and again, the business boys run a little bit late, but I get a chance to sit and talk to their guests. We decided that we're going to make a podcast with it, and so here it is. We're going to call this one the
Creative Business Trundys.
And this is my interview with
Elijah Simon.
How cool is that? Do you sit and think like that you have comic books that are in a bag and on a board? And,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
It's a surreal experience, kind of. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
especially being a kid, you love comic books. I'm guessing. You know?
Yeah, like, cause I had a bunch of comic books as kids or whatever, so it's like, it's just weird, kind of, for it to like hit, like, do like a 180.
Yeah.
And it's like, cause I got like a team too or whatever.
Yeah.
We draw these comics and we get them printed in physical form, and people really want to actually buy them.
That's so
at
dope, man.
different conventions and stuff like that. So it's mind blowing, man. Like,
Yeah,
no lie,
yeah.
it's just mind blowing.
It's that's a whole different feeling, you know,
Right.
like that the support that people give you.
Yeah.
Because you know, when you're doing stuff and you're taking a big swing like that, you don't expect anything's gonna come of it.
Right.
You're just kind of like, oh, let me just fuck it, let me just do my thing.
Right.
And you know, when people like want it and support it, it's like it's got to feel pretty good.
It feels good. I'm pretty sure it feels good, like, you know what I'm saying, to be wanting, you know, to have people that want you to do like comedy and stuff. Like, it's just like, man, you want me? You got
Yeah.
all these other people, but you
Yeah.
want me to do something? It's
You
just-
know, for me, it's you know, anytime anybody shows up, I love it. But when there's like a really big name comic that gets in touch with me and be like, hey, can you come open for me? That to me is like, there's nothing like legitimately nothing better than that, because that's proof. I can think I'm funny or I can doubt I'm funny.
Yeah.
All of these things can be true or not true, and they don't matter. What's absolutely true is when somebody who's really talented thinks that I'm talented enough.
Right.
That validation's like ridiculous. You know?
Yeah, it's a humbling feeling too. Like, I'll be very humble a lot of the times. It's like, man, it blows my mind, man.
So when you go to the conventions and people are coming up and they already know your work,
Yeah.
how does it feel when people already know your work? You're right.
Gotcha.
How does it feel when people already know your work versus when somebody comes up to the table and you get to talk them in and they get excited about it? Like two different things, but they both feel good, right?
Right. It feels great, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you know, like being on like social media and stuff like Instagram, you know, when there's like a show or something coming up, we're already using the hashtag to try to promote so that people will already get familiar
that's
with
dope.
the work. So it's like for somebody to come up to you and be like, oh, I saw this. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Or just for the long-term people that you have people that will literally drive like a few hours just to come get our books. And I'm like, dude,
How crazy is
that's
that?
crazy. That is
Yeah.
insane.
Like, you know, for me, it's hard to leave the house for anything.
Right.
So whenever somebody makes that effort for me, I totally understand it. You know, we did some shows this past weekend, and you know, I kept feeling like really grateful, because I looked around the room and there was 20 some odd people in the room, and I was like, each of these people thought about coming here, then they actually did it. They paid for a ticket, they paid for gas, they got a babysitter, they bought food. They you know, you only get a certain amount of free hours every week, and
Right.
giving some of those to me is like unbelievable. So driving a couple hours to come get your
That's what I'm
comics,
saying.
is like, and you know, they could probably get them in the meal too, but there's
Yeah.
something about meeting you in person and connecting with you and showing you that support in person. It feels a little bit better.
Feels really great, man.
Yeah.
And just meeting people too, man. Like we sit for hours sometimes and
Hell yeah.
just talk to people, man. Like and I'm a really introverted kind of person.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like like you said, you know, I hardly ever leave the house. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always at home.
And I'd just rather be there.
Yeah, just rather be at the house just drawing. You know.
But
what
it's
I mean?
nice when you finally make that choice and that
Right.
decision, and then you get that affirmation that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I mean?
sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
You said you got a team. You got how many people? How many people do
It's
you work with?
2 other artists. They're actually my blood related cousins.
Oh,
or
very.
whatever.
That's dope, dude.
It's dope. So it's like a family thing. You know what
Hell
I mean?
yeah.
But I'm always with them too. You know, they're like a duo. They have like their own thing going on.
Yeah.
But the 3 of us come together and it's like freaking, you know, just magic because we all do this together. Like
Supporting each other and
Yeah.
like filling in some weaknesses and adding some strengths and stuff like that. Some
Exactly.
compliments.
mhm.
That's great, man.
It's like and then it's like, you know, the vibe, man. You know, 'cause we've been doing this since we were like before we were even printing out.
That's
any
what I
of
was
these
gonna
books.
ask.
Yeah, like we always been together. So it's like it was always the three of us just running around drawing ever since we were kids. So here we are now.
You know, finding a stack of comic books when you're kids, sitting around, throwing those back and forth. Yeah.
Right.
What were the books you were super into when you were young?
Well, I think like our older brothers, because like we were always like really super tight.
Yeah.
So their older brother and like my older brother collected like a lot of like X-Men and
Okay,
there's a lot of crazy stuff like Spawn and all that stuff from the 90s.
All that early Image
good
stuff.
Yeah. There was even some Wildcats. I don't know if you remember Wildcats.
Yeah. I mean, I had a couple big jumbo boxes of comics up until probably a year ago, and I gave them to my boys. But I had Spawn 1 through 40 something in there, and all those old Image things. All that. I was a DC kid, and I really loved the Marvel stuff, but I was limited on funds, and it was like, well, let me follow these storylines. And then when Image came out, it felt like when Todd McFarlane moved over there, it felt like fresh and new to me. So I was like, I'm here for all that stuff. So.
Right.
Yeah, so you guys, what were the stuff you guys were into?
Well, it was mainly X-Men that they were into, so that was kind of like my introduction to all of that stuff. But then there was like a big wave of like Japanese stuff just coming over here to America. So it was like everybody around my age when I was a kid, it was like, oh, we got to read this Japanese comic, the Shonen Jumps and all that stuff. So it was like extremely popular. So, yeah, man, pretty much I started getting into all the Dragon Ball Z comic books and I started drifting off too, like trying to find other stuff that I'm into that don't nobody haven't really heard about. I started trying to find some of the weird, stuff. I started getting into Trigun, freaking S-Triad.
Okay.
It's just a lot of weird stuff, a lot of the obscure stuff. But
I guess going to the conventions and things like that has to be good for that too, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How do you find the community of artists who are at your level? When you guys run in the same circle, so you get to know each other a little bit? And
And that's pretty much how we kind of got into it. We just kind of crash landed into one day. It was just like, we just was kind of like, yo, we should be doing this. You know, we were kind of confused of what's the next move. So we pretty much just crash landed and went to a convention and started looking at all the indie artists that's really out there killing it. Yeah. So we started going up to everybody like, hey, what did you do to get started?
Gotta ask a couple questions.
So kind of like trying to fill it out.
When you were asking those questions, did you find that people were really receptive and helpful with that, or were they kind of guarded?
Some were guarded though. I will admit that, because some of them is like I don't know if it's like a territorial thing. I don't know, but just different people. You're gonna, especially with artists, you're gonna run into some that are like, a little standoffish, and then you got some that's really outspoken. So there was a lot of helpful people though that did say, "Hey, y'all can do this. All you gotta do is this." That's that
old Mr. Rogers thing: find the helpers, right?
Right.
So I did conventions. I do bead art with perler beads. I do, portraits and stuff like that. And so I stumbled into some conventions as well, and that's where I ended up. I would meet some people who were like, hey, here's all the things, and some people kind of keeping it secret because they thought we were going to stand on the same corner and lose money. But I just don't see that that's how that works.
I think there's a market for everybody, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, I always feel like everybody can kind of do this together. You know what I mean? Like, you might have something that somebody's looking for, or I might have something that someone's looking for. You know what I mean? So it's like,
even if we're similar, we're different enough. Like your work is your work and my work is my work. So I used to, I think I was a standoffish person with comedy. Like I felt like I got to be the best and this and that, and I felt like there was only one job for everybody. And then I realized, if they want me, they'll hire me. If they want you, they'll hire you, and I'm happy for you. And when I changed that mindset, it was good for me. You know what I mean?
Right. I got a question for you. Like, had there ever been any moments where you were like super, super like terrified to try something?
All the time.
Like
all the time, man. Well, I got big anxiety. So when it comes to terrified to try a joke, not really. Like I don't. It's weird, man. Like I've had full-blown anxiety attacks on stage where I just shut down and my body took over because I had done it every night for 200 nights in a row. So my body just, while I was breathing and freaking out, did all the stuff. But once I get on stage, I'm typically okay, you know, like that adrenaline. That adrenaline kicks in. It's like, well, fuck it, you know.
Right.
And then when you get off, you kind of collapse. I've definitely been nervous going into big shows, and I've been nervous going into little shows. You know, I still get nervous almost every time, man. I'll go to an open mic at the club that I'm at 5 times a week, and I get that feeling like, oh, this, you know. I think it comes from feeling a little fraudulent, you know what I mean, and having that imposter syndrome stuff. It's like rationally, I know I've been doing this for 11 years, and I put a lot of work in, and I have some natural talents, and those are things that I'm just realizing now, you know. Right. But when you have that imposter syndrome, you know, you stop believing that shit on occasion. So I never really get, you know, once you get used to the fact that you're gonna bomb, like 1,000,000% is gonna happen again to me. You know what I mean? Right. Like when you first start, it happens more often, and then hopefully it happens less. But then when it happens, it feels worse, because you know you're better. And so I know it's gonna happen. But now that I've been through it enough, I know it's gonna hurt real bad for like 72 hours. And then it's gonna hurt okay for about another week, and then I'll just tell stories about it every now and again after that. You know, so you just kind of adjust your thinking going into that. You know, right. When you're doing stuff like this, is there any of that when you're?
Oh, it's a scary feeling, because I always feel like I'm about to draw something that's in my head that I like, but it's like, in my mind, it's cool and I like it, but hell, you know, they might not even like any of this, you know. And
will they even understand it?
Yeah, it's like, or what am I trying to do here? Are they looking like?
And can you do it justice?
That exactly that. Yeah, because I even with my latest one, it was like I tapped into some like Native American stuff. Okay, and it was like, well, am I going to be representing this a little like wrong? I you know, am I tapping into territory that I shouldn't be tapping into? I started, you know, I freak out a little bit. Yeah. But
how did you handle that?
I think it's like a look in the mirror type of moment, to where I'm just like, I believe in myself 100% that this is what I want to do. So it's like I have to stay true to it. You know, like I have to
stick to your intentions.
Stick to it. You know what I mean? Like, this is how you feel. You're real, you know, into this, so you have to do this, like, do it regardless, you know.
There's so much of our brains that are afraid of success and failure. You know, I know one of the reasons when I get when my mental illness is really acting up, man, and I got to stick in bed, my brain doesn't want me to go out and do anything bad or good. It doesn't want anything to happen, because then that's something it's got to deal with. And if we're out in the world, that's when negative things happen, you know, and fighting past that anxiety to just say, fuck it, I have to do it. And, you know, it almost always turns out well, you know, or at least that first attempt progresses me more towards what it actually is in my head that I'm trying to get out.
Right. Yeah. Or it's like it's like a stepping stone, you know, like I'm facing that fear now because I might have to face a even bigger threat in the future. So it's like, I'm facing that fear now. Let me just do it, because this is how I feel. I have to do it.
You know? You got to take those first steps. Yeah. That's great that you have that mindset that you got to lean into that fear a little bit. But, what were you doing before you made the decision to go full time, like chase this thing? What were you doing before?
So before that, I was just, I mainly was like stepping in and out of different like forms and mediums of art or whatever. So like I started off doing comic books even as a kid. That's what we did. But then it was like, we got older and we were like, oh, how about we try to make an animation? Well, how about we try to do this? You know, and I tried making a video game and some of everything. And it's just like, you know, I was just jumping in and out of different versions and forms
seeing
of
what
art.
Would catch.
Yeah, just seeing what would catch. And I like to switch it up every now and then too, you know, because, you know, you do the same thing for so long, you get tired of it, you get bored, you know. So it's like, I was always switching. But then we were like, well, how do we continue to do what we love, but at the same time, how do we make somewhat of a profit off of it? And it's not always about the money. It's you know, I want to put a lot of hours into this, but at the same time, it's like,
What's the return?
what's the return? You know, I don't want to just be cooped up in my apartment or house just drawing forever.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, so
What's the benefit? And, you know, for me, a lot of the times it is that feedback from people, you know, the people who drive a couple hours to see you and bring up those books. Like, that shit'll fill my tank every time, man. You know, just one good interaction like that. Yeah.
Makes you feel good, man. It's a breath of fresh air, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you know, encouragement is free.
Yeah.
Encouragement is free as fuck. You know what I mean? It's cheap and easy. And, you know, every now and again when someone, you know, money's nice. When somebody buys my shit, you know, thank you very much. You know what I mean?
Right.
Thank you more than everybody else. But when you know, just a nice word or keep going and all that is pretty dope. Yeah.
Right.
So I definitely understand that. Getting a little, you know, it's, especially when you do something you love and then it becomes about money. There's almost like this albatross that hangs over you where it's like, I have to do this because of money. I have to pay my rent. And it takes the joy out of it, which the joy is the thing that got me good at it. You know, the passion to chase it is the thing that really motivated me. And then when you get rid of that passion, when the passion becomes about money, for me, it has always been a little bit of a disconnect.
That's what I think. I was trying to find like some kind of weird like route. It was like, okay, this is my passion. How do I sell my passion? You know, so I can still be loving what I'm doing. So it's like I wasn't trying to alter what I was doing to fit a certain audience. I was trying to give you the genuine version of myself so that you would enjoy.
Have you found that balance now?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. But there are moments too where it's like, okay, you know, I need to make some money. So I start doing things like art commissions or I had just recently did this guy. I did a whole comic book for this guy. He was a wrestler.
Oh, hell
or
yeah.
whatever. And I drew
That's
his
dope.
whole comic. It was dope. I'm not gonna lie. It was fun. But I love wrestling too. So
Yeah, me too.
It was like it was fun. It was fun to kind of
How long have you been into wrestling?
I've been into wrestling since 99.
Oh, hell
99.
yeah.
So that's when I first ever got into it.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, who's your favorite wrestler?
You know, hey man, it's like that's a loaded question, man. It depends on when and what the criteria is. I hate to pin it all down. If I had to you know, gun to my head, I had to pick one for the rest of the time, man. It would automatically be between Roddy Piper and Randy Savage, and I'd have to go Randy Savage, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What about you?
If I had to pick anybody, like you said, gun to your head, I would pick Shawn Michaels.
Okay. Yeah, I ain't mad at that at all. I ain't mad at all. He, you know, he was my favorite to watch. I think for a very long time he was the best to ever do it. I think, you know, athletically and all of the stuff that you mix in with it. And I think now everybody's so good. It's just like, you know, wrestling is a great argument for, you know, when people say that athletes today couldn't play back then. I just always disagree with that. Everybody's in much better shape and they have much better training and all that.
Right.
There are so many people who are more athletically gifted than Shawn Michaels was. But Shawn Michaels was the most athletically gifted and charismatic at that point for a very long time. You know what I mean?
I think it was the charisma, you know, the character. Because if I had to pick a favorite wrestler of all time, again, he's not the best wrestler, but it's my personal favorite. You know, it's Jeff Hardy.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that's how I got into wrestling.
Yeah,
you know, I was watching the Hardy Boys, you know.
Yeah, man.
But you know,
Cameron, North Carolina, right down the road.
from our backyard.
Yeah.
So it's like that's how I got into it, you know. And then it just grew from there, man. And once you're in, it's kind of hard to get out of wrestling.
I get out for a little bit every now and again, and they always get me back in.
Get you right back in.
You know, I've been, I've been watching AEW here recently, and so I used to wrestle forever ago, and I met a bunch of the guys, and I got to work with a bunch of them, and I know some who are going now, and it's just like there's something about it to me. I love how it shuts my brain down. You know, there are a few things in my life where it stops all the other chatter, and I'm just chattering about this. Like I know when I'm in a funk or I need to stay in bed for a little while and chill out or whatever it is, it's wrestling. I put on old wrestling, man. Right. I watch old pay-per-views. I'll watch every Royal Rumble. Just, you know what I mean? And that's coming up, so that's my favorite. Right. That's my favorite pay-per-view of the year. Have you been a WWE guy? WCW?
No, I was always a WWE guy. Yeah. But then, got into TNA, I was a TNA guy like
Really?
crazy.
Yeah.
I was an AJ Styles fan like crazy, man.
Hell yeah.
So I watched his career from like 04 all
Who
the
is
way
it?
up. AJ Styles.
Oh yeah.
I was all about AJ, man. He was.
So when he came out at the Rumble a couple years ago,
I was so hyped.
Yeah, dude.
I was hyped.
yeah, it's pretty dope, man.
Not
You know,
gonna lie.
and if you think about it, man, his best years, everybody says his best years were those TNA years,
Mhm.
and here he is having this
Yeah.
unbelievable WWE career, like a Hall of Fame career in a short window of time.
Yeah.
And then people are like, "Hey, imagine if you'd have been there 10 years earlier." And it's like, yeah, well, you never know what would have happened.
Right.
I think it happened how it was supposed to happen, and that TNA run was an
Mhm.
all-time great run.
I think it turned out good. You know, the
It's-
way
yeah.
that it was written, he could have came earlier. He probably would have killed it. Because
Yeah.
it's AJ, man. He's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
kill
he-
it wherever he goes.
He just seems to me like a really disciplined human being
Mm-hmm.
who knows how to do his work and take care of his life and all that stuff. He's a rare professional wrestler whose life didn't seem like it was off the reels the whole time. You know what I mean?
Right.
He stayed in the pocket and did the good stuff. Yeah, that's dope, man.
One of the main things about wrestling, because you always get people that be like, well, how can you watch that?
Yeah.
What do you watch that for? One of the main things that I always say about wrestling is there's so many different characters
Mhm.
and storylines.
Yes.
To me, it's like being like an artist that make things
Mhm.
like comic books and characters or whatever. It's like if you look at something like Marvel and DC, there's so many different characters, so
Yes.
many different storylines, so many.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with wrestling. It's like, well, you don't have to like one specific guy. You can, hey, I'm gonna choose this guy all the way in New Japan.
Yeah.
I'm gonna choose this guy all the way, and then follow that guy's whole career.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
many different branching stories and stuff.
The storylines are fantastic, and I love that they're starting to WWE at least is starting to pay service to the history of it and
Mhm.
do some more long-term storytelling, which is fantastic because I
Right.
think that is a thing. Wrestling's not what it was back then. It's not big fat guys, good guy, bad
Yeah.
guy. It's complex storytelling with emotions and stuff like that, which I think
Mhm.
is really dope. Yeah, it's great,
Dope,
man. I
man.
love a good wrestling conversation.
Oh yeah.
We did a podcast over on my show where what's up, dude? Oh no, you're all right. No, come on in. We did a podcast on my show where I showed one of the guys one of my old tapes and stuff like that. So we were talking about that. Let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
How you doing, guys? I kind of like it.